Hi everyone and welcome to Protocol 36, and in today's video we'll be speculating whether or not Marvel Spider-Man 2 will adapt the iconic Spider-Man storyline, Kraven's Last Hunt. Now before we get started, if at any point you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate if you could drop a like, as that would really help out the channel. Thank you. Kraven's Last Hunt, written by J.M. DeMatteis and art by Mike Sek, is beloved by fans all over the world and is one of the darkest Spider-Man stories in the comics. For those who don't know what the story is about, I'm going to quickly explain it, so there will be spoilers. But it's about Kraven not only defeating Spider-Man by shooting him down and burying him, but also donning Peter Parker's suit he was wearing at the time. Though it is worth noting that it wasn't the Venom symbiote, as Peter got rid of it before the events of that story and was wearing a homemade version of the costume given to him by Black Cat. But after Kraven dons a copy of Peter's suit, he goes around New York brutally beating down and killing criminals, but also tracking down and being able to defeat Vermin by himself, a villain who Spider-Man needed Captain America's help in order to beat him, doing all of that to prove that he's a better Spider-Man than Peter Parker himself. Peter comes back 2 weeks later, revealing that Kraven didn't actually use real bullets, but instead a tranquilizer dart, finding out what Sergei did for 2 weeks, and of course messing up his reputation, therefore going after Kraven and attacking him. But Kraven doesn't fight back, since he believes that he has already won, and in order to further prove to Peter that he is better than him, he goes and releases Vermin to attack Spider-Man, beating him, which leads to Kraven releasing him and allowing him to go. He later gives Peter a choice to stop Vermin and lets Spider-Man know that Kraven will not be hunting anymore. While Spider-Man is going after Vermin and defeating him, it was revealed that Kraven confessed that he was impersonating Spider-Man for 2 weeks, clearing his name at the end of the day. However, Kraven, while reminiscing his past, would go on to take his own life, in a very twisted way of finding his own peace. If you haven't read this story for whatever reason, I highly recommend it to you guys, as it's a truly awesome read. Even though the story hasn't been adapted as of yet, it has caused many people to wonder if Insomniac will actually adapt it for Marvel Spider-Man 2, as we are finally going to get Kraven the Hunter and the Black Suit in the Insomniac Marvel universe, possibly playing a huge role in the game. Again, even though Peter wasn't wearing the symbiote suit in that story, just a cloth version of that design, it is the design everyone thinks about when it comes to Kraven's Last Hunt. However, as amazing as that story is, I don't think they will adapt that iconic storyline in the sequel, but I definitely do think Insomniac will take a lot of elements from it, which will inspire their own version of Kraven the Hunter, since that story made Kraven way more interesting than he was before, and overall making him a fan favorite amongst the Spider-Man community. And I can imagine Insomniac taking elements such as his twisted sense of honor, possibly beating Peter and even Miles in one instance, but of course not burying them alive, and going after one of, if not a few, of Spider-Man's villains, like he did when fighting Vermin, and possibly even have him showing up in the game's campaign. Or they could use someone else like the Lizard, kinda like they did in the Spider-Man 3 movie tie-in game, since we know Lizard will most likely show up in Marvel Spider-Man 2. Overall though, since this is going to be Kraven's first introduction in the Marvel Spider-Man universe, I find it very unlikely that they will use Kraven's Last Hunt when they wrote or write in the story, as judging from the dialogue, this is going to be the first time he will be meeting not only Miles but also Peter, who has been Spider-Man for about 9 years, if you count Spider-Man Miles Morales. One of the reasons why Kraven's Last Hunt works is because there's already an established relationship and rivalry between Kraven and Spider-Man. It doesn't mean it can't work if Sergei and Peter just met, but it would be better if they did, and we got to see that. Not to mention the tone in Kraven's Last Hunt, as mentioned before, is really dark. I don't know if Insomniac will match the exact same tone without making it rated M for mature. That's not to say it will be lighthearted throughout, but like how Spider-Man PS4 also had a lot of dark moments and elements implemented into the story, I could definitely imagine them doing the same thing in Marvel Spider-Man 2, but making it a little bit darker since we are tackling the symbiote storyline, while making it rated teen for teen. As you can see in the title, I also brought my friend Ronny Pugs, who will help discuss about the possibility of Marvel Spider-Man 2 being a loose adaptation of Kraven's Last Hunt, and whether or not it will happen.
Kraven's Last Hunt is without a doubt one of the best Spider-Man stories. However, outside of the comic, I don't recall it being adapted in any other form of media, even with Kraven being featured as a villain in multiple shows and games. It has been reported that the upcoming Kraven the Hunter film will be adapting the story to some capacity, and I'm hoping for that, but I would really like to see Insomniac's take on the story. I do think this would be an incredible idea to include in a game, and although I would love to see the playthrough of this story in the upcoming Spider-Man game, I wonder if it will actually be adapted given how big of a story this could be. In my opinion, this is a story that would require Kraven to be the main villain, and personally I think the addition of the symbiotes and the Osborn storyline in this upcoming game would be a bit too much, unless this game turns out to be longer than Spider-Man PS4, which it should be. The symbiotes are always tough to adapt since one half of the story involves Spider-Man time with the suit, then the other half has to deal with Eddie Brock and the symbiote, so a symbiote story like Insomniac's Spider-Man 2 would have to put one of the best Spider-Man comics of all time, Kraven's Last Hunt, aside for the symbiotes. I do think Kraven will play a big role in the game. I think there's there's a reason why we heard his voice over any other villain in the trailer, and I would imagine that Kraven's role in this game would involve him hunting the two Spider-Men and potentially targeting Venom next. I would assume Kraven's role in this game would play similar to Mr. Negative in Spider-Man PS4, sort of how it seemed like he was the main villain for the first half of the game, then it was revealed that it was actually Doc Ock. So in my opinion, Kraven could be the main antagonist while Spider-Man wears the black suit, then Venom takes over the second half of the game. I also think it would be a bit too early for Kraven's Last Hunt, since this would be the first time he appears in an Insomniac game, and a story like Last Hunt could be saved for Spider-Man 3 assuming he returns. So overall, I don't think Kraven's Last Hunt will be adapted in this game, but instead I think Kraven will play a big role in the story hunting the two Spider-Men and eventually Venom. Thank you to Protocol 36 for allowing me back on his channel for another video, and I'm glad we could share our thoughts on this topic.
And thank you Ronny for being here. We also made a collab video on his channel where the link will be in the description down below. So I really recommend you guys to check it out, and of course his other content as they are fantastic. So what about you guys? Do you think Insomniac will adapt Kraven's Last Hunt in Marvel Spider-Man 2? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, please like, and want more, subscribe. To begin, Protocol 36.